Live from VentureX Studios, it's JP, Kathy, and the crew.
Oh, good morning.
Good night.
Morning.
What do you mean good morning? I haven't gone to bed yet. Woo!
Oh, my goodness.
Whoop.
So welcome to the weekend, and it's a long weekend, and make sure that you have a safe Labor Day weekend. Super excited about today's show. Obviously, we have got Randy and Mary Travis on, and
Mary Travis on.
I'm about to turn it over to you, honey. We already talked. We talked about that on the way in studio. We are about to have two just incredibly gracious warriors in. I just obviously who doesn't know Randy Travis, to say I was starstruck, that's low on the totem pole. Just one of the most amazing voices in country music. And his wife could not be more incredible, more supportive. I told JP, I said, like, this is one of these stories where these two, you can look at you can see them when they look at each other that they both feel like they won the husband and wife lottery. What an inspiration they are all the way around.
Well, what's fortunate is that I got to know Mary years ago when she was with Randy. And, of course, didn't know all of what they were going through, knew about a little bit about what they were going through. But then Courtney's horses are out there.
Right.
And so by going out there, it was funny because Mary's son, Raleigh, comes down because a buddy of his was down there feeding cattle or something like that and couldn't believe that he saw old Judge Peyton.
Had he seen Judge Peyton in court?
He had. He had, and about 3 or 4 others of them. But all of a sudden, next thing you know, we've got like 6 guys down there, 3 or 4 girls down there, and Courtney's like, what the heck?
Everybody's just shooting the breeze.
Yeah, and it was funny. I was sitting on the tack box, and it was like I was holding court. And there was like 3 or 4 young guys, young men, standing around. We were just all catching up. And Mary and Randy were in Nashville at the time.
Right.
And so Raleigh picks up the phone and goes, you're not going to believe who's sitting in our barn. And so when they got back into town, Mary came down and visited, and then we went up to the house and we visited, and we've had dinner up at the house, and they're just extremely sweet people. And it's amazing when it's just an amazing inspirational story. And so
all
excited.
The way around.
Yeah.
There are so many. When you listen and watch this interview, and we encourage you to share this, from whatever social media platform you're watching JP, Kathy, and the crew on. We're talking about new music, new songs out. We're talking about love of country. We're talking about love of God. We're talking about love of helping other people. Even when you've gone through such a tough road, you're gone down such a tough road yourself. Just 2 amazing people, and we're so happy to be bringing Randy and Mary Travis to you, the crew.
Yeah, and so enjoy their friendship. Appreciate their friendship. Enjoyed lunch the other day with them. I enjoyed lunch with them the other day. I had a good time.
And nothing is off limits when you're talking to them and asking them questions. It's just what a great couple. Very blessed.
Couple.
Very blessed to have had them on the show.
Absolutely.
And looking forward to bringing them to you right now.
Right now, here we go. We're going to go ahead and get you started. Give us just a second. We're going to give you a still screen, and we're going to get them set up and get them in the studio here and start the interview. Well, I'll tell you, I cannot express how excited I am to have in studio Mary and Randy Travis. Thank you both for coming in. I know you had to swim to get in today.
Well, thank you for having us. It's such an honor to be here. And
thank you.
Yeah, it was. We had a little break in the rain, so we didn't have to paddle too hard.
Well, I'll tell you, I was out that way yesterday, as you know, and I was driving back on 455 up in northern part of Denton County, and the water was coming up on both sides, and I was hydroplaning home. Is what I did yesterday. So, no, thank you for joining us. One of the things that has touched my heart more than anything else were a lot of the tributes to 9/11. And one of the ones that hit me the most was Randy's tribute to 9/11 when you did America Will Always Stand. And so with your permission, Randy, I'd like to play America Will Always Stand.
Thank you.
All right,
Thank
let's go
you.
ahead and kick this off and play it. Charles, if you will let everybody see what we see.
She stands in the face of evil and will not lose hope. America, the land of freedom, is still the home of the brave. So raise the banner called Old Glory. Let us join our fellow man. History will write the story. America will always stand. Walking through the fires of danger, there are those who gave their lives. They're the world's greatest heroes, and we won't forget their sacrifice. So raise the banner called Old Glory. Let us join our fellow man. History will write the story. America will always stand. America is not divided. Our enemies, they will be stopped. 'Cause we the people are united and still one nation under God. So raise the banner called Old Glory. Let us join our fellow man. History will write the story. America will always stand. History will write the story. America will always stand.
Well, I'll tell you, Randy, every time I listen to that song, first of all, goosebumps. So thank you for that. Reminding us that America is great, and we get to determine that it's great, nobody else, including outside influences. And so God bless you for producing that and singing that and making that a part of our lives.
Thank you.
One of the things I wanted to share, we were downstairs coming up, and I had Steve and Gail Meeks up. They're going to have a show that helps couples with financial issues. And but Steve was in the Navy, and he was one of those that went and did it. He's one that dove off the back of the ship, jumped in a vessel, landed at night, and surged into dangerous areas, war zones, right? And one of the things that Steve shared with Randy and Mary was that, and he had shared this with me about a week ago, that what the guys wanted to hear was Randy Travis send them on their way. And he shared that with Mary and Randy downstairs. And so what a tribute, Randy, to all the men and women that serve in our military that you were able to put together in your music to help send them off. I know it sounds crazy, but into war. Yeah. You know, so.
It gave them a piece of home.
It really did. It
No
really
pun
did.
intended on the
Yes.
piece, but it gave them.
Yes.
Well, and one of the things that I think hits real close to home for you, Mary, and for you, Randy, is the Randy Travis Foundation.
Yes.
And what you're able to do, talk about, and make public to more people, or make people more aware of how they can be a part of a solution to something. So, Mary, Randy, tell us about the Randy Travis Foundation. And I know it's kind of a silly question to ask what inspired it, but a lot of people will go through the things that Randy's gone through, but you've taken your whole effort to the next level. So tell us all about that.
Well, the Randy Travis Foundation was founded on the fact that we went through the struggles that we went through. It was real life, and the pain and the struggles and the answers that we never got, the answers that we got we didn't like. So it was a positive way to take what life had dealt us and do something with it to help the next person. And I guess Albert Einstein once said, surround yourself with positive, because the negative always has a problem for every solution.
Right.
And so, we decided that the foundation, the onset of Randy's whole issue was a viral cardiomyopathy. It was a virus that hit the heart. But it was misdiagnosed for 2 days when we went to the emergency room, because they said it was first day walking pneumonia. Second day, we went back because he couldn't breathe at all, and it was full-blown pneumonia, and they thought, well, that's strange that it would occur so fast. So by the time we got to the third hospital, which was the heart hospital at Baylor in Plano, Dr. Michael Mack met us there, and he said, it's not the lungs at all, it's the heart. And so he figured out they were going to put him on an Impella to help the heart. It was assist the heart. They had put him on a 2.5 Impella at McKinney, Scott and White, Baylor, but it didn't help, and so that's why we transported him to the heart hospital. They were going to do a twice the strength type Impella, and Dr. Max said, we don't have the time, we'll lose him. And he had already flatlined at McKinney, and they had gotten him back, and it was just one of those just minute to minute trying to figure out what the right answer is, and the doctors didn't know what was going on because he wasn't responding to the pneumonia treatments. So by the time we got to Baylor, or the heart hospital at Baylor, Dr. Max said, we've got to put him on ECMO. So they immediately went into surgery and put him on ECMO, which is putting a tube up through the groin, the right groin, and it basically takes over your breathing and your blood supply and everything else. And so he was in a coma at that point in time, and for 72 hours he was in the coma. They started bringing him out of the coma, and that's when they figured out that he had that he had stroked when he flatlined. So he had a massive stroke. It was an ischemic stroke in the left cerebral part. And at that point, it was too late to do anything about the stroke, because you have 7 hours from the onset of a stroke.
Right.
There's a stroke that occurs every 40 seconds, and for every minute that it's not treated, there's 2 million brain cells that are killed off. So it's so important for people that are having stroke for it to be recognized. We lost the luxury of that because of the coma. And so it was a lot going on real fast, and Randy's courage. I say he stared death in the face, and death blinked. But his courage and God's grace has got us where we are now. We spent 5.5 months in hospitals, and everything from 2 brain surgeries, 5 tracheotomies, intubations, 38, 40 IVs. He had sepsis at one point that was so bad they had to put him in quarantine in Vanderbilt. And the doctor that he had the third week of rotation was George Jones's doctor.
I'll be darned.
And I went to him, and and this was after they had already come to me and said, we just need to go ahead and let him go. He's got too many things going wrong. He's going more backwards than forwards.
So
with
let me
the
stop. Let me
bacterias.
stop you there. They come to you and they say, "Too much going on. It's time to let him go." Before you even go into Randy, before you respond verbally to anybody, I mean, this is the man you love, the man you have stood by, and you are racing from medical facility to medical facility at this point. What goes through your mind for you as the wife, the one that loves this man? What are your thoughts at this point?
Well, at that point, we weren't married yet. And so it made it a little bit more difficult because they were not wanting to listen to me as the girlfriend. But I was,
You were there.
sorry about your bad day, but this is it. And,
Right.
We would have been married before, but it just kind of,
Fell all this way.
yeah, so it's okay. But my first reaction was, yes, I've waited for this man all my life.
Yeah.
I love him more than I love my own life, and I'm not going to let him go if there's anything I can do. And my prayer was, God, please let me have him back. Any way, shape, or form, just let me have him back. God was faithful. He gave him back. And
so-
I'm grateful every day. But yeah, I was mad and I was angry. They had taken me into a room with doctors and interns and nurses. And some of our friends that were there, including Nancy Jones, George's wife, and Jeff Davis, his tour manager for 28 years, and his brother, Dennis, some other people. And they said, Mary, we're going to have to let him go. There's nothing else we can do. We can't get on top of, he had serratia pseudomonas. He was very septic. Staph infection that was going rampant. And they said, there's not anything else we can do. So I was, at that point, a little mad because I was upset that they were giving up when we weren't ready to give up. And of course, I was very sad, and so I left the room, and I went back to Randy's room, and I just knelt down by his bed, and I held his hand, and I said, "Baby, you got to let me know if you want to keep fighting this fight, because we're going to fight it if you want to." Well, he was still in his semi-coma state, and I didn't really expect an answer because of what was going on with him, but he squeezed my hand, and then a little tear fell right out of the side, and I was like, and I was like a mama bear at that point in time.
Right. Yeah.
It was.
That's a
it's
game
all-
changer.
It was a
It's
game
all-
changer.
That's a game changer.
That's all I needed. So I went back in that room, and I was like, you know what? We're fighting this. With or without you, we're fighting it, and we're watching you. So, they kind of got on board, and that next week we got Dr. Toll. And he was, like I said, George Jones's doctor. And I sat down and I told him what we'd been through for the last 2 weeks of rotation.
Right.
And he said, "Okay, Mary, I'm going to change a lot of things. We can only do it for a short period of time, or it'll do more damage than good." So I said, whatever it takes. I mean, we'd already been through the emergency brain surgery where Dr. Max said, "We've got 3 hours to do this surgery. If we don't do it by 6 o'clock, we'll lose him because the midline has shifted so much." And so he said, "We have 1 to 2% chance of survival if we do it and 0% if we don't." I said, "That's 100% over 0. We're doing it."
That's
So
right.
we
Amen.
did.
I can do the math
I
on
can
that.
do that. And that, again, that was Randy's grit and his determination and, his toughness. But it was hard. But Dr. Toll said, "I just lost George Jones, and I'm not losing Randy Travis." So I knew that I had finally a doctor that was on our fighting side.
Right. You had a fighter.
We had a fighter.
You had a warrior.
And in 5 days,
One of God's warriors.
Well, he was. And in 5 days, his staff had started turning around and dropping numbers, and the serratia, the pseudomonas, had started dissipating. So within, I think, 11 days, he said, you can take him back to Plano now. You can take him back home. And it was a hallelujah moment.
Boy, yeah, they were getting ready to bury him, and you said not just no, but hell no. We're ready to fight, because Randy just told me we're ready to
Yeah,
fight.
Randy, he's the one that decided.
That's awesome.
I was just his
Chuck,
voice.
bring up the website, would you please? So, Mary, talk to us about the picture with him in the wheelchair, because you have been through all of this. You have fought all this. They've told him he's done, and you went in and you kneeled by his side of his bed, and he told you without words, "I'm not done. I'm not. I've got that steely-eyed look I can give you, and then that big smile. I'm not done."
I knew he was having conversations with God.
Yeah.
Right.
That's what I knew while he was there, and I knew that he was still talking with God, and they had an agreement.
They came to an agreement.
They did. They had an agreement.
So talk to us about, go ahead and go full screen if you would, Charles, please. Yeah, talk to us about the wheelchair moment. This is a moment.
Yeah, that was a huge moment for us because it was it was 5 months. Yeah, about 5 months and a week into this ordeal that we had been through with 2 steps forward and 1 step back, and then 3 steps forward and 4 steps back, and you just day after day. But anyway, this was our first day to be able to go out outside of the hospital, and his first day to get any fresh air in 5 months. And we were at Vanderbilt, and so they let us go out on top of Vanderbilt where the helicopter pad is, and Randy's in his chair there. He's overlooking the city of Nashville. And I just thought that was such a poignant moment to say, I'm not leaving Nashville. I'm not, it's still home to me, and I'm still here, guys. So he was kind of an angel looking over Nashville from my point of view.
Well, and what a victorious moment. I mean, that's a
was.
victory. And I see the shadows from the sun,
Yeah.
and it's like God's looking down on him, saying, okay,
Smiling.
here you go.
I gave you another chance to
Yeah.
make the best of
Yeah.
it. And then, you move forward with your foundation, music and arts education.
Right.
Tell the crew about how important that is to you, Randy, and to you, Mary.
Well, obviously, music that's the fiber of his soul. I mean, that's what drove him. And from the time he was 3 or 4 years old, he had a little guitar in his hand and a horse under his bottom. But he thrived with music, and he was good at it. And his voice is God-given. He didn't really take vocal lessons. And
I didn't know that.
No, and he went.
Oh, that is a gift from God. He
When
doesn't
he
give
wa-
out that many voices.
He doesn't, not like that.
No.
When he was 9 and his brother was 10, his daddy sent him to a guitar teacher. And she said, well, now your daddy said one of you has to sing. Well, Ricky, his brother, was older. He said, I don't want to sing. And so she said, well, I guess her name was Kate Mangrum. She said, well, I guess you have to sing, Randy. And he's like, okay. And so that's how we got this
my
beautiful
goodness.
voice, was by default. He was told he had to.
Somebody had to sing out of the two of you.
So music was so important to him, and he wasn't a straight A student in class. He didn't care for math and science and history. He loved his music, both singing and playing the guitar and entertaining. And of course, now we look back on it, changing lives. But if he had not had that, I guess it was in 9th grade, that the principal finally said, you know what, you come in the front door, you go out the back door, you don't spend any time in class, at least go out in the parking lot and pick up cigarette butts. And so he did that for part of 9th grade, and then it was not going to be, and he went full-time music from there on. So it hurts my heart to hear that schools are shutting down arts programs and music programs.
heartbreaking.
And there are kids out there that are so talented and that are hidden talents. I mean, who would know? And if they don't have that access to music and to instruments, which for people that are not maybe from a well-off school or something, or home, they can't afford
Even a
pianos
guitar.
or guitars
Right.
or anything. So
Right.
it's important to us to bring awareness that there are kids that don't learn math and science, but they learn through music. And there's so much therapy in music. They found that in stroke. They found that with all sorts of maladies that people have and recoveries. So why isn't music just as important as math and science, if not more now than ever, because of
You're right.
what this world has been through?
You're right,
So-
and music it's healing.
Very healing.
That's I know. If I'm sad, if I'm mad, if I'm happy, I
Yeah.
listen to music.
Yeah, and I love the one, music is an equal opportunity healer. It's good
It
for the
is.
performer and the listener.
It is.
It's so
amen.
true.
Amen.
Yeah.
So what does his foundation do, and how can we support the Randy Travis Foundation?
Well, as far as just as bringing awareness to viral cardiomyopathy and educating people on that so that it's not misdiagnosed or not diagnosed at all, as was our case the first 48 hours, which were critical. So we'd love to bring some sort of awareness to hospitals. You know, now they have, and I know Tennessee was one of the first to start it, the governor, because of Randy. We met with him, and they set up hospitals that were stroke prepared. So that people that lived somewhere, just because somebody called 911, they didn't just take them to the closest hospital, but if they were showing signs of stroke, they went to one that was credentialed for stroke recovery, immediate help, so that they weren't losing precious time in transport. It's important for people to understand the only 100% cure is to keep from getting a stroke, but you can't do that because you don't know.
Right.
So that between just awareness and then stroke recovery, just patience, somehow reaching out there to the people that are going through it. If it's phone calls, if it's reaching out, if it's don't give up. I visit with a lot of people that are going through stroke. They've reached out to me. They say, "What do I do? How do I feel?"
Well, like as the loved one,
Yeah.
because I would imagine, and you've said you felt helpless. The person that you love the most
Yeah.
is in trouble. So,
Yeah, and we're
you
not-
can be a hero to those people to know what
What to
does your loved one
expect.
need.
And what to expect,
Yes.
because we can get a lot of education, but we're never prepared for that. We're never taught how to deal with something like that, and any of us, and we all go through really hard times in life and unexpected emergencies, delays, medical, death, and how do you deal with it? And I think it's most important to understand that you've got to really lean hard on God. Just having sweet Jesus walking beside you every step of the way, knowing that the path is going to be bumpy sometimes, but he's always there, and it will smooth out, with patience and perseverance. And so that's what the stroke, the foundation is just something, awareness, early detection, post-stroke rehabilitation, and of course, including children early in music so that they can make a difference too, just like
Absolutely.
Randy did.
Oh, and we've got several of your fans, including JP and I, sitting here. Can't imagine, like we had friends here earlier, and we were talking about the 80s and the 90s and all the songs that we had of yours on our mixed cassette tapes. For those of you who are young and listening to the show,
They're like, what's a
well,
cassette tape?
look, Google it.
What's a cassette tape?
But there wasn't one cassette tape in my cassettes that was mixed that didn't have at least 2 or 3 Randy Travis songs, and there's so many fans that wouldn't have had that. So it's just so amazing, and thank you for that gift. Thank you.
Charles, if you'll bring up the website one more time, please. This is how you can contact to donate, be a part of the movement to educate and make sure that children have that opportunity for music and art education. And so you can contact Bailey at the RandyTravisFoundation.org. Is that accurate
Yes,
still?
I think so, yes.
And so you can go on to the site at RandyTravisFoundation.org by appointment only, but make a contact, reach out,
Yes.
and let's help somebody else. Let's help educate the general public and even the medical public. Maybe it's time we meet with Governor Abbott You know, do something
Thinking
here
the
in Texas. Oh, I'm
same
thinking the same thing.
Amen,
Yeah.
brother.
It may be time to meet with Governor Abbott. So we may have to do that one day. Take a trip down to Austin. We'll load the RV up and we'll go down to Austin. we'll roll into the Capitol in style. That's what we'll do.
Oh no.
So talking about style, how about this? I'm sitting there and I'm watching a rendition of Amazing Grace. And I mean, tears just started flowing. My great-grandmother used to sing Amazing Grace because the women on my side of the family are musical. Me, not musical. Not at all.
We still love you, JP.
Right. Well, you have to. It's a voice you have to love.
You can play music. It's just on the radio.
Yeah, yes.
Thank you.
and I do that pretty well.
I will,
do
be,
that
I will
pretty
be
well.
quoting her on a regular basis. Remember what Mary said about
Yes, you
playing it
will.
on the radio.
Give it back.
Well, especially with
Let
me.
Randy have it.
Especially with me. And so, how did it feel? I mean, how did it make you feel, in even just in one word, to be able to stand up there in front of your contemporaries? Nobody's expecting this. Everybody knows the battle that you have had, that you pretty much battled from everybody telling you he's done to, yeah, I'm not done. And you belt out Amazing Grace.
A lot.
Yeah.
Did it feel good, honey?
A lot.
And you did a great job too.
Oh,
Oh,
it
my
was.
goodness.
It was very unexpected. Of course, his induction was in 2016 with Fred Foster and Charlie Daniels, he was so dear to us, and we miss him desperately every day since July the 6th. But we had decided in his acceptance speech, I said, I think you can do this, and we had practiced it some in speech therapy at Select Rehabilitation, and we had left Dallas to go to Nashville the week before the induction, and we were pulling out of the parking lot at my mother's rest home. She passed of dementia, and we were pulling out of the parking lot because we wanted to see her before we left, and his brother called and said, it was a Saturday morning, he said, I hate to tell you, but Dad just died. So his dad just passed away from a massive heart attack, unexpectedly. He was planning to be at the Hall of Fame induction. So we diverted and went to North Carolina instead of Nashville. And he was buried on Tuesday, and then we headed on to Nashville. And in that car ride, both to North Carolina and Tennessee, we ran through Amazing Grace a bunch of times, right? I think he was tired of me turning it on and singing it. I know he was tired. He was tired of hearing me. I know. But anyway, it was just one of those things where we weren't sure we were going to do it up until the moment before the induction started, and we hadn't told the Hall of Fame people. We hadn't told his manager or publicist or anybody. Not a soul. We didn't even tell the kids. So when I got through speaking for him, and I handed him over the mic, and I just said, I'm going to give you back the voice of Randy Travis. We had people from even Texas that were there, and they were like, oh, my gosh, Mary's lost her mind. They're like, what is she thinking? And it was just so beautiful because he took that mic, and it was like he'd never put it down. And he came out with the 4 verses, and it was beautiful, you know, and it wasn't, it's like we talked about, it won't be like it was before, but it's even going to be more beautiful.
Oh,
So,
yeah, even better.
you know, it showed the grit. It showed the determination.
Charles, go to my screen if you would, please. This is from Taste of Country.
Okay.
And I loved what they did with this because it gave a little bit of Charlie Daniels as well. And so here we go. I'm going to go ahead and play this. And
Travis, producer Fred Foster, and Charlie Daniels were inducted on Sunday night in Nashville. Garth Brooks had the honor of inducting Travis, performing 3 wooden crosses, and saying he wouldn't be in the Hall of Fame himself if it weren't for the 57-year-old singer. Wife Mary was at Travis's side as he took the microphone and shocked the audience by singing Amazing Grace.
We smile every morning, and there's some nights that we cry when we go to bed in frustration. We pray differently now, we trust faithfully, and we fight on. Every day we sing. It's a special thing to hear Randy Travis sing, I think. Don't you agree?
You'd be hard-pressed to find someone in attendance who wasn't tingling all over.
Sometimes we sing the greatest redemption song of all time, and it fills us with thankfulness. That song is Amazing Grace. Ladies and gentlemen, heroes and friends, tonight I want to give back to you the voice of Randy Travis. If you would all join in with Randy singing Amazing Grace.
Okay.
Garth will help you.
Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me.
So again, just beautiful, amazing. I mean, I'm looking at Garth, who tributes you to his success as a big part of that, standing there singing with you and enjoying every moment of Amazing Grace. And so God bless you for showing people that don't quit, don't give up. I'm going to get in front of the world and I'm going to show you. Yep, and you did. And God bless you for that. Thank you for that.
Thank you.
I mean, it was amazing. And I'll tell you something else that's amazing is that Randy and Mary sat down with author Ken Abraham and his wife and wrote a book, but not just any book. Tell us about what you were able to put together to give to the world, a piece of Randy Travis and his life. And so tell us about the autobiography. Did you hold anything back?
No, not really. I mean, it was the good, the bad, the ugly, as they say. And it was interesting going back through it, as far as digging information out. It was cathartic. I mean, it was healing in a way. It was painful in a way. But it was something where so many of his fans had wanted to know where he came from, what the background was, what the backstory was on his songs, what created the songs, and just the man that he is. And I think that Ken Abraham nailed it. He had to kind of work backwards because it was post-stroke, and Randy was not able to just sit like most people are when they're having a ghostwriter write their autobiography. He couldn't sit and have long hourly conversations. So Ken would go and find stories and interviewed. He interviewed countless people and got their stories, and then he'd come back to Randy and I, and he would verify with Randy everything. Randy would give us kind of hints as to what rabbit trails to go down, and it was really it was an interesting project, and couldn't have done it with anybody more of a masterpiece or a master than Ken Abraham. I think he did a beautiful job capturing, and I think one of the greatest compliments is we talk to people that say, I feel like Randy's reading me his story. It's not just a book about his life, but I feel like he's reading it to me, and I think that was something that's an art. So it was fun to do. It was exhausting, right? But it's all out there now, so yeah, there wasn't a lot held back. It was some of the painful stuff that you didn't want to pull back out of the closet. You had to, but that's it.
Was there, when it was all said and done, Mary, Randy, did it feel like a weight of life had just been lifted off of you when you were able to get that book out there?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think so, because he did. He lived a lot of life. And he did a lot of good, and he would be the first to tell you he did a lot of bad when he was young. But those are the things that he overcame, and that's where he wants to be an inspiration and an encouragement to young kids that are having a hard time finding their way. You can still do it. You know, don't ever give up. Yeah. Not as a youngster, and not after going through a stroke. Just don't ever give up.
And that's a message we need, Randy and Mary, now more than ever. So thank y'all for that gift.
Thank you.
Well, and you know what's exciting is the fact that regardless, it shows people that life is life. We all put our legs in our pants one leg at a time. And it's those memories. It's those moments in life that we use to define a message to other people. And the message from Randy is whether it was good, bad, or indifferent in my life, you can overcome. But you've got to be willing to make that fight. And that's what I get from the book is you got to make that fight. And if you're willing to do that, then life will go your way. And so I love it. If you'll bring it up, Charles, it's Forever and Ever, Amen. And Randy Travis with Ken Abraham. And and I've started reading the book. So I've got places in the house I read. And so this book is at the table in the morning when I get my coffee.
Good.
And I start to read. And that's how I get started in the morning. And so thank you for writing that and putting that out there. I mean, just what a miracle that is. And so thank you for that. You know, another miracle, of course, is your voice. And you released a song in 2020.
Right.
And it's a beautiful song. And with your permission, I would like to be able to play that song. All right. So we're going to play. This is Fool's Love Affair by Randy Travis.
The phone rings twice, then it's through. I don't even have to answer, I know it's you. Yes, I'll meet you for the one thing we share. Our once a week fool's love affair. Same old motel, the same old room, same old lines we know can't come true. It's just pretending, but the guilt's always there. It's just a once a week fool's love affair. It's a fool's love affair, and we're both aware it's a game and nobody wins. We can't reveal the love that we feel, so we'll just keep it this way till it ends. We hold each other and then say goodbye. It seems we ought to, but nobody cries. We're two people with nothing to share, but our once a week fool's love affair. It's just a once a week fool's love affair.
So, first of all, what a blessing to have another Randy Travis song. I love that. What was the inspiration to release this song now?
Well, that song was recorded in 1984 before he even had was with Warner. And he was just kind of new in Nashville, and he was doing demos. So Charlie Monk, who's considered the mayor of Music Row, kind of self-titled himself that, but everybody believed it, so that's what he is. And Charlie Monk is just a real outgoing, congenial, sweet. I mean, he's just a sweetheart of a man. And he had Randy do this this demo that Milton Brown and Keith Stegall and Charlie had written. And like I said, Randy was still cooking at the Nashville Palace, but he was doing demos, as so many young artists do when they get to Nashville, just to survive. And so that one went on into it went into a shelf that Charlie never visited again for a long time. And he found the demo about 3 years ago. And he called and he said, I found this demo to Fool's Love Affair. And he sent it to us. He said, does Randy remember it? And Randy said, yeah, I remember it. I don't remember when I cut it, but I do remember. So Charlie said, well, I want to take it to Kyle Lenning. He took it to Kyle Lenning, who was Randy's longtime producer, and said, what can you do with it? He said, well, I need the masters. I need the multi-tracks to be able to, to make it into something we could put on radio. And, well, Charlie said, I can't find them. So for a year and a half, he looked for him, couldn't find him. And about a year and a half ago, he kicked over a box that he was fixing to send to the Hall of Fame in the archives.
Right.
And out fell this master of Fool's Love Affair. He said he got so excited. He called us. He called Kyle. And that's where it all came from. He believed in it. Kyle enjoyed it. Randy, it was just one of those things. He said, I knew that it was a God wink.
Right.
And that it was supposed to see the light of day, or I never would have found it. So
I'll be darned.
it was just,
Yeah, what are the odds?
what are the odds? And it's just nice to hear his voice on the radio again.
Well,
So,
you know what's nice about it is it's not in our time.
No,
it's in
no.
God's time.
It is in God's
And
time.
this is when it was supposed to come out. And boy, Lord knows we need some love.
Yeah.
Boy, right now, that's for sure. We sure are
Yeah.
struggling in that, as a country. So what a great time for the song to come out. Well, Kathy, what a blessing to have both of them in today.
Like I said, I'm a fangirl. I'm sorry we were crazy when we first walked. I was like, it's Randy Travis. I mean, if you would have told, 25-year-old Kathy, she'd be sitting across the table from Randy Travis's 53-year-old Kathy, I would have never believed you. But I'm so grateful to have this opportunity. And thank you so much for your music and for your God-given talents and for not giving up on life.
Thank you.
Well, also go to the randytravisfoundation.org. Make an appointment. Let's get the education out there. And like I say, Kathy and I may have to make a few phone calls. We may have to make a trip down to Austin
Call
and
Governor Abbott.
visit with Governor Abbott and see what we can do about doing something like that here in Texas. And so we definitely want to make sure that information gets out. That's important information. You could save another girlfriend, another wife, the trouble, and say, you don't give up. There's a way to fight back.
That's right.
And if he believes in it, then it can happen. And so it's amazing. And so thank you so much. I want to take us out because, again, it's my favorite. Sorry. America will always stand. Want to take us out of the show today. Have a blessed weekend, the crew. I hope you've enjoyed this as much as we have enjoyed this. Randy and Mary, thank you so much for taking the time to swim from your ranch in Tioga.
Thank you for having us. We really enjoyed it. And we
And
just
so-
want to go out and tell everybody to keep smiling. Find something to laugh about every day. Where there's darkness, bring light. And wherever you go, be a blessing.
And
All
the two
right.
of you certainly are a blessing.
you.
Thank y'all.
Thank you. All right, and here we go. We're going to take it out with my favorite. This truly has become my favorite Randy Travis song.
She stands in the face of evil and will not lose hope or faith. America, the land of freedom, is still the home of the brave. So raise the banner called Old Glory. Let us join our fellow man. History will write the story. America will always stand.
Will you sing a song for my wedding?
Well, I didn't really come to sing it,
Please.
but well, I might. You may think that I'm talking foolish. You've heard that I'm wild and I'm free. You this love that I feel for you always will be. But you're not just time that I'm killing. I'm no longer one of those guys. As sure as I live, this love that I give is gonna be yours until the day that I die. Oh baby, I'm gonna love you forever, forever and ever, amen. As long as old men sit and talk about